Hi, and very welcome to Milkfish Chess channel. Welcome to another chess video. Today we're gonna talk about Sultan Khan. I don't know if you have heard about him, but this is really an amazing story. Sultan Khan was born in 1905. You may be thinking, wow, he have a sultan title, so he was a sultan. Well, not really. It's actually his name, and he was a servant. Yes, you heard. He was a servant from India. Interesting, right? By the time the Sultan Khan lived, there were players like Capablanca, Marshall, Rubinstein, Tartakover, and many others. Yes, he played against them all, and yes, he beat them all. Well, maybe not all the time he played against them, but yes. And there are many famous games from Sultan Khan against those opponents. His best results were second to Savielly Tartakover, so you can imagine that it was a strong tournament. Third at Hastings. You probably may have heard about Hastings. So he was just behind the future world champion Max Euwe and former world champion Raul Capablanca. He got fourth place at Hastings in 31-32, so fourth at Bern in 32, and tie for third with Isaac Kashtan at London in 32, and behind the world champion Alexander Alekhine and Salo Flor. Sultan Khan again won the British Championship in 1932 and 1933. In matches, he narrowly defeated Tartakover in 1931, so it was 4 victories and 3 losses and 5 draws, and narrowly lost to Flor in 1932, so he won 1 game, lost 2, and drew 3 games. So amazing, isn't it? And one thing that's hard to imagine is how did he learn chess, because he was analphabet. He didn't know how to read, and he didn't know how to notate the games, so he always needed someone to notate the games for him. So it's really curious. He didn't have access to great coaches and to books. He didn't have a book of chess, and this is really interesting. So quite a guy, huh? And everything we know from him regarding chess is between the years of 1929 to 1933. So it's like less than 5 years. It's like a meteoric career, you know? He just appeared on those 4 or 5 years, and then he beat everybody, and he didn't study, and he didn't have a chess coach, and he didn't know how to read or how to write. But then he came back after that to his country, to India, and like he became a farmer, kind of a small farmer, and he lived a poor life there, and he never played chess again, and we haven't heard of him playing chess anymore. So, and he used to say that he was not going to play chess anymore because he thought that it was a very difficult game. So in this game, Sultan Khan is playing with the white pieces against José Raul Capablanca. Let's see the game. So Sultan Khan started with knight f3, knight to f6 from Capablanca, d4, b6, so the Queen's Indian defense, c4, bishop to b7, knight to c3, e6, and a3. Already an interesting move from Sultan Khan. It was an unusual move by that time. d5, c takes, e takes, and bishop to g5. Bishop to e7, e3, castle, and bishop to d3 developing, and knight to e4. So bishop to f4, knight d7, queen to c2, and f5. F5 may not have been the best move in this position. Maybe Capablanca should have played
g5 first, and only then played f5. So this like just improving the position, making this bishop would have to come back. you play f5, and black is okay here. Of course, white would play h4 now, but after h4 and after g4, so the position is pretty much equal, and it could have been a good continuation. But instead, we see the immediate f5.
Just adding more defense to this knight on e4. And we have knight to b5. Very interesting, putting a lot of pressure on this c7 pawn. Now the bishop and the knight and the queen are aiming here. So bishop to d6, trying to defend. Knight takes, pawn takes. And now this pawn is guarded by this knight. So h4. Very interesting move by Sultan Khan. So rook to c8, queen to b3, queen to e7, knight to d2, knight d2 f6, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop to b2. Rook to c6 and g4. So here he comes, Sultan Khan, the servant, the analphabet, playing against Capablanca. Very interesting. g4. So doubling the rooks. g5. Knight goes back. And bishop to g4. Rook checks.
It wouldn't help white pieces to capture this rook here, because after you take this rook, black will capture. Now you cannot move the king, because then you're gonna lose this rook here. So you could actually block with the bishop, but this wouldn't help white to improve his position this way.
So king has to move. King to d2, and now rook. And then, of course, taking the rook, taking two rooks for the queen. And now the position of Sultan Khan is really better. Okay, so he's got the bishop pair, and he's got two not active yet, but really easy to activate them. The king is kind of in safety. This bishop is not doing much. This knight is really kind of hiding there. So this is really good position for white. And let's see how Sultan Khan leads this position to the victory. So queen check, king d2, and the queen coming, bishop to e2, and queen to b3. Rook to b1 defending the pawn, and king comes to the game. Now the other rook joins the party, and king to d7, to e7. And the idea of king to e7 is to add another protection to this d6 pawn and maybe free this knight, because this knight has nowhere to go now. So maybe he's gonna push his king to d7 and then knight to c7, or maybe even g6 then knight to g7. So now rook to c3, just kicking the queen from there, and not many places for the queen to go, so maybe the only place. And before this, and this is the best move here, because black was threatening to play bishop to a6 and kind of trying to exchange some pieces and release the pressure, and b4 just prevents that. So now if black tries to play bishop to a6, you simply push b5. Now this bishop has to come back. You can play now rook to b4, for example. Now only place for the king is playing on e5, and now this queen is completely out of play. And you could simply now maybe improve the position of your king to c1, then king to b2, and then you could start to push some pawns and gain more space. Okay, so a much better position for white. So b4 was an excellent move. So it's interesting how Sultan Khan plays precisely. So all his moves are very precise, and he makes no mistake. That's really interesting. So queen to d7. And doubling the rooks, a6, and rook to g1, queen to a4, and rook goes back, and queen to d7. At this point, it's just like Capablanca is saying, it's like he's offering a draw. So you can imagine you're an alphabet, you are a servant, and you haven't read a book. You're asking someone to annotate the moves for you, and Capablanca is like offering draw. So what do? Rook to g1 again, right? So let's just repeat the moves. No, he just plays h5. Awesome, right? He wants to win. So king to d8, rook to c2, queen to h3, king trying to get a better position. So there's not much black can do now, so he's just kind of repeating some moves and kind of waiting to see what Sultan Khan is gonna do. And Sultan Khan very patiently is improving his position. Now with a4 he's gaining some space. Now king, he's trying some things. Bishop. Now the queen is attacking this pawn on g5. Bishop defending, and also was threatening a discovered attack, so g6 blocking. h6. And this position is really interesting. Now if you take a look at this knight, now he has nowhere to go. He cannot come to g7, he cannot go to f6, and he cannot go to c7 because it's guarded by those two rooks here. That's really interesting how Sultan Khan is improving his position and how the black's pieces are really doing nothing in this position. Queen goes back, and it's really difficult to find a plan as white here, so you really need to be patient, and Sultan Khan shows how to be patient and slowly is improving his position. This is already move 45, and this is really not clear how white is gonna win, but let's see. So a5, bishop to g3, queen f5, bishop f4, queen to h3. Now king comes back to b2, queen g2. Now making pressure here on this pawn. You just let this pawn. Maybe there's some trap
here, like for example here. Yeah, then simply bishop to g4 with a discovered attack here. And this queen doesn't have many places to go. And after he comes here, then rook to g1, and this queen is trapped, right? Any move like this, then it's gonna be followed by rook to h2 when this queen has nowhere to go. So really nice. So that's why after
queen to g2, Sultan can play king to g1. So very interesting. So the queen cannot capture this, otherwise it's gonna be trapped. So Capablanca saw that and played queen to h3, king to a1, king to g2, king to b2. So again, trying to find something. Maybe one is expecting the other to make a mistake. So it's kind of that kind of position. Rook to g1, bishop to c8. And now Sultan Khan starts to infiltrate the position. He's attacking the b6 pawn here. Now the queen came to h4 and with an attack on the f2 pawn, and Sultan Khan double the rook. So instead of defending, now he's attacking this bishop twice. So bishop to g4, so taking the bishop out of the way. And Sultan Khan is not interested in trading pieces here. So he's got more space, so why would you favor black here? So he just retreats the bishop, queen h5, rook to e1. And this rook to e1 move comes with the simple idea of taking care of this square on e2. So now you're preventing the bishop to come to e2, and that would favor black. So Sultan Khan doesn't allow that. Queen to h1, kind of pinning this bishop. So putting the rook in protection, and queen to h5, and king to c3. So we're kind of, so here bishop to g3, and the pawn on g5 is now captured, but that's not a problem. Now the king comes to d2. That was the Sultan Khan's idea. Now the king is nearer to those with those pawns here. He's guarding this square, so it's really interesting. That's what's his plan, and there's no way that black can save this pawn here, so let's move on. So queen to h5, and rook takes pawn. So now the position is just gonna collapse. White has really been successful in infiltrating the position. So rook to b7, king to e6, now b6. This pawn just now became a monster. Knight to f6, bishop to b5, queen to h3, and rook to b8. And in this position,
José Raul Capablanca resigned the game.
So a very interesting game. It really shows how Sultan can place precise moves, how he knows how to handle it, to really dominate the position and play everything very patiently. And he really could find a way to win this as white against Capablanca. So I hope you have enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it. A fantastic game. I will put the links below in the description to another games from Sultan Khan that he really has a collection of many interesting games. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this game. If you didn't know yet, now you know about Sultan Khan, and if you already knew about him, I'm pretty sure that you were excited to see a game from him. Maybe you have already seen this game, but it's always exciting to see a story like that. A story like that when a man with really bad conditions, apparently, and he can make history, and he made history in chess. So I do hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. If you like this video, give your a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you can know when new videos are coming and new interesting things are coming. Okay, thank you so much for your audience, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.